Hey folks, John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, here for the Freight Fraud Task Force. Welcome to another TikTok Diner, and with me today as my guest co-host is Claudia Catlett. Claudia, so good to see you, my dear. How have you been?
Hi. I'm well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me and letting me come on today. I can't wait to hear more about this guest you've got.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Class 8 before, but we are going to have Chris Atkinson from Class 8 on the show today, talking to us about Class 8 and what all it does. But it should really be an interesting and educational show, especially for you trucking companies that are out there looking to do things the right way. And everyone's very interested in doing things the right way, especially post Montgomery. We look at all the brokers that are out
Hmm.
there trying to update their processes to make sure that they're defensible per Montgomery. But before we get into that, we do have a little bit of a PSA for our Task Force Minute.
For the Freight Fraud Task Force, the Lounge Media Group presents the Task Force Minute, hosted by the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, John Cantera.
I've been having a lot of fun doing new intros using AI,
Yeah.
and it's been very helpful. But anyway, for today's Task Force Minute, if you have been sleeping under a rock for the last couple of days, I hate to say it, fuel prices are about to spike again. So if you haven't topped off your diesel tanks yet, you need to do so as quickly as possible because the U.S. and Iran are shooting again. The U.S. is saying that the ceasefire is officially over. And so the war is back on. So the wonderful dollar a gallon that we've seen reduction over the last 4 weeks is about to go away. I'm sorry, that is the way of things. So please top off your tanks while you can, conserve your fuel, and pay attention to your routing. Make sure you are doing the best you can to help protect your business. And hey, truckers out there, when you're bidding on loads, make sure you're accounting for your fuel cost along the way. Just throwing that out there, folks. And that is your Task Force Minute.
This has been another Task Force Minute. Be sure to like and subscribe on all of our social media. And whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride.
Now that we got the PSAs out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the fun stuff. It is definitely time to enjoy some chow here at the diner. For the Freight Fraud Task Force, the Lounge Media Group presents the TikTok Diner Podcast, serving up freight fraud with a side of prevention. Here is your host, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, John Cantera. So I am out here in my studio away from home in Arizona, and I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I do not handle heat very well. So being in Arizona in July is not exactly comfortable. I mean, I think yesterday it was 120 degrees. This is
That's all.
definitely a monument to man's arrogance.
Hmm.
I was trying to describe this last night to my wife. You're in a nuclear detonation. You have the blinding flash, where everything just incinerates and catches on fire. That's the point we're at right now. Okay, before the shock wave hits and knocks the ash plume out of the way after everything's been incinerated. That is where I'm at right now, and I am just roasting here, but that's
Bless my
okay.
Anglo friends.
I have no idea how the Europeans would ever handle this. I really have no freaking clue. That's neither here nor there. I want to go ahead and welcome to the show Chris Atkinson, CEO of Class 8. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here, John and Claudia.
Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I know we've got a limited amount of time today. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey before we get to Class 8?
Yeah, my journey is long and cumulative. I'd say that first. We started out as a company using ELDs as white labeled load boards for our technologies. We built an experience inside of the ELD that was meant to be a freight matching experience. You might have an ELD by whomever. They might have a load board inside of that ELD, and we were the ones that were operating it. That's a brief stop in our ultimate journey here, wherein we got to the point where we could really leverage vehicle data for identifying the ideal shipment opportunity for the ideal driver. And we took that model to the OEMs. So starting with Volvo and Mack, and then ultimately to Daimler. Now, what is unique about that and what is unique about the business today? We have access to not just data on where the truck is, not just data on the actual safety of a driver, but also data on whether or not that vehicle is full or empty. And we started out launching a capacity sourcing solution because that additional signal, whether it's full or empty, and also what type of truck it is, van reefer, flatbed, or power only, we realized we could leverage that for theft. We realized that with the additional inclusion of other signals, we would have a tamper-proof signal that would indicate unauthorized unloads on a journey. And we can do that when we have the origin and destination, and we can do it even when we don't, which I can talk about. The big problem today, two big problems today in the industry. Number one, ELDs are completely spoofable. They can easily be tampered with. And this is a tamper-proof signal because it is the ECU, not the ELD. So the actual device on the engine computer that we're tapping into, not the device that is being plugged in afterwards. And the other factor is, because it's tamper-proof, you can do some very interesting things to help carriers that are actually abiding by the rules, that are actually, handling freight in an appropriate way. You can give them a system of record that they can take to any shipper, to any broker, and say, hey, look, I'm a legitimate actor. And by the way, if you're using me for any of your loads, you're going to know the exact time I pick up, the exact time I drop off, and I'm not going to be able to do anything funny because you'll be able to see it right away based on the data that Class 8 is able to provide.
Yeah, I think that was the entire intent of ELDs to begin with. But as you pointed out, ELDs are hackable. They can be manipulated, which unfortunately the bad guys are using that to their advantage in every way imaginable. I mean, I don't know how many times I sit there and I look at a carrier's safety record and I see false log as a violation popping up all the dang time. It drives me insane. Yeah, well, I mean, especially, I hate to say it, guys. I'm not trying to pick on the Eastern Europeans, but Eastern Europeans, I see this all the damn time. It drives me crazy. I don't know how a legitimate trucking company can compete when you have such blatant, how do I put this? Okay, blatant fraud. Oh, where'd the heck Claudia go? Oh, well, she'll be back. Such blatant fraud going on where you have everyone cheating. I mean, It's like, well, one of my favorite to hate scams that are out there are some of these guys who have like 10 trucks in their fleet, but only insure one, so they can keep their authority active. And it's just like, how are you getting away with this? How? Thankfully, FMCSA is stepping in, but what you're doing, tapping into the ECM directly, that really kind of fixes a lot of those problems.
Indeed, yeah. You're able to tap into something that these bad actors aren't able to mess with. In fact, you can even look retroactively and say, well, we know that this vehicle was traveling for this duration, and if there's some edit to the logs, it's identifiable immediately. So all of that is effectively on offer when you're dealing with a signal that can't be tampered with. So
law enforcement uses their license plate readers and whatnot to sit there and match log entries, but brokers don't necessarily have that kind of access. What is it that that brokers need to do to be able to make sure that drivers are doing what they say they're doing?
If you're working with Class 8, we're able to provide you with that system of record that shows you the exact patterns that these drivers are driving in, where they're picking up, where they're dropping off, as well as provide you with the signal that you need to know that when they pick up your load, there isn't an unauthorized unload. So I can, unpack that a bit. Because we know when the vehicle weight changes, we're able to say, okay, this is where the pickup occurred and the truck became full. This is where the drop-off occurred and the truck became empty. Is there a route deviation between these 2 points that doesn't make sense? We pair that with satellite data to identify where that actual unload event might have occurred. And that's what gives us the ability to really zero in on what happened and where it happened. I mean, we're seeing unload events in the middle of the desert. We're seeing unload events on the side of the highway, and we know that something went wrong there. But if you're a broker and you're tracking a load, you already have that pickup and drop-off information. You know exactly what's supposed to happen. So we're going to know right away. The second that unauthorized unload happens in an area that is not the appropriate drop-off location for that shipment, we're going to know right away. So we're helping.
So like when you have a truck that's on a dedicated load and it's not a full truck, but it's still dedicated, and then they stop and they add a few pallets just to add some more revenue to the truck, you're going to know that right away.
Yes, that's the other scenario. And we don't talk much about that, but the use of a vehicle outside of, if it's leased, if it's an Amazon truck, et cetera, outside of the scenarios that it ought to be used for, we see that too. And we're able to leverage that.
I have to echo J.R. Elrod's question here. How the heck do you know that the weight changed?
So there's an axle weight metric that comes off of the truck. And I just want to be clear, this is a proprietary metric. So it is only available from the OEM. You cannot get this from the J1939. In other words, you cannot get this from the actual ELD device. But this proprietary metric is based on the air suspension readings and the various different other indicators that come from that vehicle. The OEMs have had this probably for several years now, and that's what we're able to tap into. And that's what we get off of the engine computer because it's a proprietary metric and because we have those OEM relationships.
That is just absolutely amazing. I deal with OEMs a lot in my full-time job, and the capabilities that they have that the public doesn't know about is mind-blowing. And that's one I didn't even know about.
Right.
So that's actually kind of impressive that you can leverage that information and capture that. So your product, Class 8, is that built for carriers or is that built for brokers? Who's your target audience?
What I would say is that we first and foremost provide products to carriers. We have a voice negotiation solution that helps them find shipments with AI auto negotiator. We have a load board. We have a dispatch optimization solution. But of course, because we have all these different products and because we have these carriers leveraging them, we have a large base of carriers. We have about 200,000 trucks in our system. And those 200,000 trucks are able to leverage our network of brokers to exchange and interact with shipments in a way that is safer, in a way that's more productive. And that's what we're ultimately able to offer the brokerage side of this solution as well, as a capacity source offering.
Okay, I'm going to throw up. Geez, JR, I probably should just throw you a freaking link at this point. You're asking great questions. How does it work on older trucks that may not have the computer capability?
It's a caveat. I mean, we do not have. If your truck is older than 2019, we unfortunately don't have access to it. Now, that might sound like more of a red flag than it actually is. That might sound like more of an issue than it actually is. The reality is, if you look at the total number of trucks on the road, I think the number that's commonly quoted is that about 3.5 million trucks are on the road. This is not correct. There's about 2 million active trucks on the road, and about, say, just for round numbers, about 1 million of those are across private fleets. The available connected trucks across Daimler, Volvo, and Mack that we can access is 1 million. Now, there'd be a bit of a skew towards private, but that gives you significant coverage in the authorized for hire segment as well. And within that segment, a lot of owner operators, a lot of small fleets, they have high concentration of these 2019 vehicles. So I know there's the issue out there of, the trucks that are much older, et cetera, but it's not as much of a problem as you might think. You're not really holding on to these assets in most cases for longer than that time period.
One second. I'm actually tossing JR a link right now.
How do you? So if I was a broker and I am like my company that I work for is a brokerage, So if we wanted to utilize Class 8, what does that mean? Like, how would I do that? In what way do I get the information? Is it a UI interface that is only on Class 8? Do I have to have a subscription, or is it, hey, I've got these, this is my freight that I'm running, and two of my carriers said, hey, yo, Claudia, I just want to let you know that we've got Class 8, and we can send you the digits. I don't know what they would, to assure you that we're legit, and that we've got our trucks are where they're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what does that interaction look like? What's the starting process? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So today, brokerages just leverage our API or a portal that we give them access to. And that portal gives them access to information on the trucks that are inside their network. So there's a entire process that we run to ensure that, the appropriate consents have been obtained and everything is above board there. But we interact with the broker. We do charge them a subscription fee for that service. And that's how we prop it up.
Is that fee based on the number of trucks that are in the number of units that they are interacting with, or the number of carriers, or their loads? How does that?
It's not. It's instead based on their use cases. So some brokerages have a technical sophistication that means that they're using more data at a higher rate than other brokerages are. And there actually isn't a significant correlation in number of trucks and usage across various different brokerages. So for example, it can be true that a brokerage is accessing about 50,000 trucks like within the network, but they're not using the actual API or using the tool that much. It can instead be true that number is 20,000 and they're using it a lot more. So we don't find a significant correlation there in number of trucks and actual total usage. And what we care about is the total usage.
So it's kind of like, when you say total usage of data, you mean, in my brain, that kind of goes to, like, for lack of better understanding and how to explain it, like tokens for like like how many times your thing has to clicky click to do things for us.
That would be an accurate correlation. Yeah, that would be an accurate comparison, rather. Yeah.
All right, gotcha. Cool, thank you.
You mentioned some of the OEMs that you have connections with. I'm assuming then that this is not something that would be applicable to most hot shots, being run by pickup trucks, Fords, Dodges, etc. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Yes, not today.
Well, not today. But it sounds like there's a plan.
Well,
could there be? Because like that's a really, really big. I mean,
it's a large segment of the market these days.
They are so hard to vet, and because even though most hot shots are still ELD required, because they don't get pulled over and inspected and hit for it, they don't do it. Like I can't tell you how many times I've argued, well, not argued, but just said that truck's not ELD, that load is not ELD exempt. Well, they're a hot shot. That doesn't matter that they're like saying hot shot does not mean you're ELD exempt, right? So like when you go through the check marks, I'm like, they're not, but because they don't get hit, they don't do it. So we don't have these connections to be able to look. They are a thorn in the side of anyone who is trying to vet and
I've actually had a run-in with law enforcement very recently out of New York, and I know at least in New York, Highway Patrol and certain municipalities that are trained in DOT operations, they are actually hyper focused on hotshots because of the various issues that are taking place in hotshots. And I'd really love to see all the states put some focus on that. And as another public service announcement, real quick, guys, next week is a CVSA inspection week. It's Operation Safe Driver from the 12th through the 18th. So you commercial guys that are out there, if you're on your phone or you sit there and you have your tablet mounted and you're watching the movie while you're driving, you're going to get busted. And it's not just the truck drivers, the four-wheelers out there, they're coming for you too. So be careful out there, guys. I digress. They are targeting hotshots, finally. So we are seeing some improvement in that realm. But as we all know, when you have the non-CDLs get kicked out of a CDL position, they go to the non-CDL platforms. They go to the box trucks. They go to the hot shots. They go to the Sprinter vans. And what's safest for them is the Sprinter vans. That's another space that I think really needs some serious attention in stuff that you do, Chris, because they are under 10,000 pounds. They don't require an ELD because of that
That's right.
designation. They don't require a DOT number on the side of them because of that designation. Boy, I would love for FMCSA to change those rules and include Sprinter vans as they must have ELDs. They must have DOT numbers on the side. If nothing else, to level the playing field, because the bad guys are migrating there faster than anywhere. But hey, non-CDL hotshots, you better believe they are flooding that market too.
Yeah. Sorry, well, I'm not trying to take away from what you're doing, what you're saying. I mean, you're literally, the name of the company is Class 8. So I'm not trying to like digress or change all of those. It's just like this, I like this idea. And I just feel like there are some things that, some load types that would benefit greatly.
Yeah, you're helping us build out our roadmap right now. This makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Well,
JR, thanks for coming on. I want to be quiet.
Hey, no problem. So here's a question, Chris.
Please.
So I put in the comments before John sent me the link, but like my trucks, I run 2002 through 2017 trucks.
There you go.
And you said if it's pre-2019 that it's not going to do it. Now, here is what I see in the market as far as the guys that are doing a lot of the fraud stuff. They run trucks like ours.
Sure.
They intentionally buy the cheap
older
throwaway trucks.
Yeah.
Out on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And they go to work with them. Okay. Sure. So what is Class 8 doing to be able to work with guys like me that do have older equipment,
but that are legit?
Yeah, absolutely.
That want to express how legit they are.
No, we really do have our hands quite full with the units that we do have access to today, and we're noticing enough fraud among them that and also just enough opportunity among them that that's where we're focused right now. I think that there's an opportunity to begin accessing those vehicles, but we still have to explore that, and that's not something that we're aiming to do in the near term. So, a little bit of a heartbreaker, I suppose, but unfortunately, it's just not something that
you have to grow somewhere, and you're going to want to perfect. You want to perfect your product before you expand to other platforms, and completely respect that. That. Because the year groups that you have are primarily where the good guys operate. So you're using a good sample group to be able to fine tune your product, to be able to provide and demonstrate value to the guys who are actually doing it the right way. Because let's face it, the guys who are doing it the right way are the guys who are struggling the most right now. So you're finding ways to bring value to that, and that's something that deserves applause.
Yeah, there is tons of fraud though among those units. I'm telling you, pilferage and theft, and we've seen it and caught it. Yeah. Sorry, please go ahead.
Can you?
Let me ask one more question, Claudia.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Okay, so how are you preventing? Okay, let's just say 2019 through 2026, 27 units. Okay, they put an ELD in the truck. The truck goes down the road, and they reach down and they unplug that ELD, which loses connection. So what are you doing to prevent that?
So that's one of the best things about this is we're not using the ELD at all. A lot of different products in the market do use the ELD, and the problem with that ELD is that it can be spoofed. You can take the data from that ELD, you can manipulate it. And there's other ELDs out in the market today that are effectively on the take. They're effectively involved in this entire scheme. And in the case of Class 8, we don't tap into that product at all. We never touch the ELD. We instead use the ECU, or the engine computer that actually sits on the engine. So all of that data from the engine computer flows to the actual interior of the truck, where someone connects in that ELD. But we're going here. We're catching that data here, and we have that cellular signal, and that's a device that you cannot tamper with.
So
you
you're receiving a signal direct from the engine's computer. You're not.
That's right.
Piggybacking off of the signal coming off the ELD.
No, not at all.
So you don't have to have an ELD in your truck at all for your system to work.
That is also true. Yeah, if you pull out that ELD, we still have access to all of the data. Yeah.
Mind blown.
So does that mean that that's a device? So if I'm a carrier and I have the right units, the right year frame of units and the brand that works, do I have to say, I come to Chris or to Class 8 and I'm like, hey guys, I want to connect my doodads. I want to connect the doodad to my truck so I can be visible on Class 8. Is that a device that they have to have, or is that a login, or is that a, hey homie, like hook me up, click up the things? And
it comes with the truck when it's manufactured. So it's built into the vehicle. Yeah.
So it's a trigger that you activate on your platform in order to collect the telemetry.
That's right.
Huh. So it's not something you plug in or connect with the vehicle. It's already your Class 8 program is already in the truck now from
That's
2019 to wherever we're going from here.
That's right. And we work
That's
directly
awesome.
with the manufacturer on that. Yeah.
That is awesome.
so does a carrier, you have visibility on units, whether the carrier says you can have visibility or not?
That's right. Oh, no, that is not right. We only have access if the carrier has given us visibility, and we have, we obtain
You have the
consent
consent,
for all of this.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a carrier says, hey, Class 8 can have permission to see my things. And then you have this connecty thing where it doesn't matter about ELD connection, because I know some of that stuff is like the truck is off, it's not running, they've been sitting, those kind of things. But the connection that you're seeing once the carrier gives you that permission is always there.
Well, yes, it's always there for the OEM. The OEM is already, not in all cases, but in many cases is pulling in this data. I actually don't have all the details of when they are and when they aren't. But my general understanding is that in many cases they are. And, it would be true of many vehicles that we drive today, that they're already streaming data to the cloud in some way, shape, or form. So it's giving Class 8 access to that data that occurs. And we have a thorough consent flow that the carrier has to sign off on in order to provide us with access to that data.
That's really cool. What is the cost? How does it work for carriers? Like for their cost, are they a monthly? Like, I guess they wouldn't be pulling the data like a broker is, or do they?
It depends on the product that the carrier is using. So our dispatch optimization product, for example, there is a monthly fee associated with that. Our load negotiation tool, we charge when we actually secure a shipment. So it is really for us an opportunity to have various different products that are effectively loss leaders. Like we have, in the case of Daimler, a free ELD. And we also have a free load board in the case of Daimler, Volvo, and Mack. Those things help us sell these other products that I just mentioned. So that's a way for us to, operate a product portfolio that makes it true that when you buy a truck, you have what you need to run your business alongside that truck. That's ultimately what we offer to the OEMs. And then we have an entire strategy focused on bringing folks in, getting them using these systems, and then upselling them on the more important products and features that we have available.
So now, a lot of brokers that I'm aware of are kind of turned off trying to negotiate with an AI. How do you get around that?
You know who else is turned off of it is carriers.
Carriers. Yeah. Carriers are tired of talking.
I wholeheartedly
there are
agree
lots
with that.
of carriers who are like, that's an AI click.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's happening through email too. Matter of fact, while we're sitting here, I'm sitting here trying to secure a load, and I'm talking to an AI, trying to get it to get me to a human so I could actually talk to somebody.
Yeah, and everyone hates AI. It's just the hatred is only growing. I would say that in many cases that negotiation bot is connecting with another AI on the other side of the conversation. So we have a lot as AI.
I would love to see somebody who's really smart in AI to sit there and crash somebody else's AI as they go through a negotiation process.
Don't do it to us.
Just out of entertainment value, I'd love to see a recording of that. When I was dispatching. When I was dispatching, I could recognize when an AI answered a phone when I'm trying to call on a load. I could easily recognize that. And it didn't necessarily bother me unless it was forcing me to negotiate and wouldn't advance me to talk to somebody. It got to the point where in some cases I would sit there and I would say, okay, yes, I'll agree to your rate. And then it advances me to the broker and say, okay, look, man, I don't want to negotiate with your AI. I want to talk to you. Okay. This is what I really want for the load. And he said, well, then I hang up and say, well, screw you, you're wasting my time. Okay, sorry. I'm much better off talking to another human being because there are circumstances that exist. And then there are the AIs that sit there and say that they recognize my phone number, okay, which is not connected to an active DOT number. And they say, well, you're not calling from an authorized phone number. Click. How the hell am I supposed to do my job if you won't even talk to me in the first place?
Yeah.
This is part of my issue. Part of my issue with a lot of the technology out there is and this is what I was saying in the overdrive piece that you saw, is there is the systems for enforcing clean usage of technology and the systems for avoiding fraud are so blunt that they're catching all these false positives and they're very punitive to folks that aren't, are doing no wrong. And I think that we need more of a scalpel, whereas right now we have a hammer. There's no one on this call will like this phrase, but there's a phrase that I heard once that was the optimal amount of fraud in any market is not zero. But what it means is that if you build all the systems to completely eliminate something, so if you're focused on zeroism, then what happens is you decrease the market size so significantly that it's edging out all of these good actors that, should be able to run their business appropriately. We believe we have that scalpel.
And I'll tell you, Chris,
that's exceptionally fair. Absolutely. Sorry, Claudia.
Yeah, no, I was gonna echo that and agree. Like, I understand that. And that's the thing that, we as risk managers, compliance managers, whatever you want to call us, depending on the brokerage, like, we have to balance that. We play a balancing act every single day when we're looking at a carrier, and we say, because I've heard it said before, and it's true, I can find something wrong with every carrier you bring me. Almost. I've seen like two in 4 years that I'm like, man, I can't find anything wrong with them. I would load, and I don't say that because I dig for something wrong. You can ask my team. I will do my best to qualify a carrier. But and there are times that, you hear different vetting companies. Well, I don't know. Can I say other people? I don't know if I'm allowed to like call out other people on the thing, but there are companies who will say like, hey, you might not, we know that you're not going to pay the rate that you need to have a high caliber carrier for every single load, because frankly, you've got customers who are who are like, they are very price based and they don't care. They're like, listen, I just want my freight to get there. And you're like, fine, it's a dry van, box truck, and you, those are the carriers that are like the lower, tiers that you assign, and they don't have a high value on cargo and that kind of thing. Like, I understand that happens. And so we have to take that balance and say, okay, I know you're going to have a rather meh carrier, but I at least want to make sure that the VIN is on the policy. So we have to do we play that balancing act every day. And sometimes we do use a blunt hammer. And sometimes that hammer is, listen, I've had 12 claims with that insurance company, and not one of them have ever paid out. And it's nothing that we've done wrong. It's nothing, and it's like, so we blunt hammer some things, and we know that with doing that we are going to lose a part of our capacity. And so we have to say, okay, if this is the rule, or this is, I'm putting this hammer, I know that it's going to affect capacity like this, I'm okay with that. Or, hey, this is the broad rule, but we're making exceptions, and this is how we make those exceptions. But the thing is, you have to have someone on your team who takes the time to do that, because there are so many who won't. You've got big companies that do the AI things and whatever, that they've got 6 other carriers behind you that they don't need any of the scalpel for. And so they'd rather load with someone they don't have to scalpel. And that does have a very negative, if I understand, that has a negative effect on especially owner operators, who maybe are driving older trucks because they can't afford that crazy insane payment for a new truck, and so I get those things, and know that there are, I think it's great what you're doing and how you're working at trying to have another solution to show the good carriers that are out there, because we want to applaud them, we want to load them, and we want them to be the ones that are on our loads, like, period. That's what we want. And but it is definitely a balancing act, and we do sometimes say, like, nobody, like, we're just not doing it.
When I look at a bunch of motor carriers out there, and I'm talking to them, particularly some of the guys who may have only been in the industry for maybe a year or so, one of the biggest issues that I see with them, one of the biggest needs that I think that they have, is they have no idea how to calculate their costs. That CPM that we try to preach out there to a lot of people, the new guys have no idea. Does your platform help a motor carrier determine what a CPM might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a dispatch optimization system that analyzes the various different pricing and 816,000 different lane combinations that you could run in order to help you identify not just where what the highest paying load is, but what the highest paying strategy is. And I'll tell you, this is not a strong pitch to most carriers, because it is in many cases just follow the money across the board. We spend a tremendous amount of time on this, and what it would sometimes do is say, listen, you need to take this leg that is slightly slightly less profitable, and it's going to pull you into this market that is going to be much stronger, or it's going to pull you into this chain that's much stronger.
Yeah.
And I would say that, 6 times out of 10, not 9 times out of 10, but 6 times out of 10, you just get like, yeah, but this other load pays more. So I'm going to take this.
Yeah. Well, I love that.
As a dispatcher, I saw it all the time. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. I love it. That's why we're both cheering. Like, I used to work for a motor carrier, and we had a team that they ran a triangle, and like, we had owner ops that would lease on. And so they had to, obviously they had to approve all of their loads, and we're like, hey, take this load. And they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. I don't want that load. Yeah. But you had to present it as a triangle, and we had dedicated freight. So like, it wasn't like you were going and guessing either, but it takes, we had 2 dedicated legs of that. And then that third was the one that was the spot market that we would throw in, and it is sometimes difficult to get someone to understand that, like, hey, listen, I know this one isn't the best, but it's the lane, it's the triangle that we're talking about. You can run this in this amount of days and come home with at least this, and probably going to be this, so it's excellent that you have something that allows that to show for carriers who, especially new folks who don't necessarily understand like how to see and put that stuff together.
Yeah.
Watch out, dispatch services. You're about to get made obsolete.
JR, do you see that as a good thing, or how?
I see it as a good thing. I mean, we here at Bar, we already do that. Okay, so we run project freight, and then once we get to the project and unload, then we have to find stuff to get us back towards the project. But you don't want to run. Okay, so we go to El Paso, we unload on Thursdays, then we find something on Thursday or to deliver on Friday somewhere, and then pick up something on Friday to deliver somewhere on Monday, because we can't pick up until Tuesday. So we're looking at, okay, if we run this here to here, and then pick up this here to here, and then this back over there, that, like she said, that it's not really a triangle at that point, but that round makes us more money.
Yeah.
But it's about strategy.
Right.
Strategy is the key word.
We will look, okay, so we know that, rates coming out of, say, Chicago is higher than what it is out of Nebraska. So we try to run from here to here, get to Chicago, get something out of Chicago, go back to where we need to be for Tuesday. And a lot of carriers, they don't do that. What they do is they say, okay, Claudia's load pays $3.50 a mile. John's load pays $4 a mile or $4.25 a mile. But John's load goes to Nowheresville, Wyoming, and Claudia's load goes down into, say, Houston or Dallas. You're going to make more money by going to Houston or Dallas than you are to Wyoming,
right?
Because you get to Wyoming, if you get something, it's going to be if you're lucky, $2 a mile, and that's where you lose your money.
Yeah, no, in many cases. And another critical factor around this is, say you're building a triangle or even a square or even a hexagon, which we've recommended to folks in certain instances. The challenge is that whatever rates you're seeing, of course, change, but it's also true that the rate that you receive is higher the closer you get to that pickup time, not in all cases, but in many cases. And so, we've called on those, we've tested this out. We've seen this with our AI agent. Very large brokerage saying, maybe you're asking $1,000 for something. And what we're seeing is that for this particular lane, you should be able to receive something like $1,700. The broker tells you on the phone, if you call tomorrow, it'll probably be $1,700 kind of thing. So I've actually heard that on the phone before.
Well, and now I'm going to go back to Class 8 for a second, because I'm going to ask you the same question. Sure. That I asked,
all Class 8, but that's okay.
That asks that I asked Genlogs. Okay.
Sure.
And so, is Class 8 going to supply the information in which you get from the trucks to the insurance companies and to law enforcement?
In the case of law enforcement, we absolutely. I mean, if there's an investigation that we can help with.
Oh no, I mean outside the investigation. Say I pull into a scale and DOT, are they going to be able to log into your system and see what my truck did?
No, absolutely not.
Because Genlogs can't. They do it with Genlogs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Well, it's because Genlogs is tied to your license plate.
Supplying the information you get from my computer on my truck to the insurance company.
In some instances, carriers want their data provided to the insurance company. So that's a whole process. That's between them and the insurance company. And if that's something that
so that's an optional thing. Whether or not you export that data to their insurance company is dependent upon whether or not a carrier wants that done.
Otherwise, you're not building a durable business.
Well, I mean,
I would say that maybe Class 8, you have to have permission, but I don't think that anybody on this show can say for sure what the manufacturers are providing to whomever and whatever they're doing with whatever waiver that was signed when someone purchased a unit.
So, I'll step in to defend them. I don't know that this is true, but I don't think they're doing that.
They are.
Okay.
I'm just going to say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
You have the relationships with the trucking OEMs. Okay,
yeah.
So pose the question. I would love to hear the answer to that. Are they sending data to insurance companies? I think that'd be an interesting piece of intelligence that the entire trucking industry should know.
They are ultra concerned. They are ultra concerned about privacy and PI, like all of this information. Mm-hmm. And I would be surprised. So my sense is that they are not. But I'm not an oracle into what's happening at the gigantic.
I just wanted to clarify. The question was being posed to Class 8, not to the OEM.
Yeah. Sorry, JR. What was that?
Yeah, the only reason that I ask is because, they're, with us, I mean, honestly, we try to do everything right. But I mean, we're not 100% all the time.
Mhm.
And if somebody is sending, just say one of my trucks is running across Texas, out in West Texas, his speed limit's 80 and he's doing 85. We don't want the insurance company to see that, even
Right.
though it's even, yeah, we're running a little fast, but we don't want the insurance company seeing that.
Yeah.
It's, or, I mean, there's a ton of different things that a legitimate carrier
Yeah.
does, not consistently, but
Yeah.
there are things that happen throughout, 150,000 miles of truck a year
Mhm.
that happen that are not intentional, and it doesn't happen every day, but the insurance company sees it even once and then they hold it against you.
I would say we make it our job to be very responsible and just good stewards of the products and customers that we have. So, for example, passing on metrics that are that do not have context and can be misconstrued is something we avoid. Another example is hard braking data. As we all know on this call, sometimes the safest thing you can do is a hard brake.
Mhm.
And a lot of instances, insurance companies really care about this data point, but it's not valuable, and it's not it doesn't have the correlational value that you might expect it to. Something that does, driving without a seatbelt on. So there's certain things that are much more intent focused that probably matter much more than some of these other data points that can be easily misconstrued, and we take that job seriously.
I think one of the things to focus to mention is that, the carriers are presented, it sounds to me like, Chris, if I understood this correctly, carriers, when they buy a new one of these OEM trucks that are part of your program, they say, as they're getting purchased, they're like, hey, listen, you're hopping into, to be an owner operator. If you are looking for load board, here's something that's an option for you. If you're looking for ELD, here's something that's an option for you. And here are things that kind of come along with what we're doing, and these things can assist you in your business. And those things, there's part of that is free. And then, but of course, your lead to that, if I understood correctly earlier, was like, hey, we're offering this to them for free. We are also, offering them an upsell to options that they would purchase through us. And then, to me, if I'm the customer and I'm paying for my service, I know then I know that I can feel better about the security of my data, right? And where that data is going. If I'm doing everything for free, hashtag like, social media,
Yeah.
I am the product, right?
Right.
So I think there's a thing to understand very clearly there, that Class 8 is your customers are like, you are the product and your customers are paying you for it, period, versus I am like, you're just, hey, I want to get everybody signed up I possibly can, and then I'm using that info on the backside for brokers, insurance companies, and whomever is looking for that, right? So I think that's a very, something that we need to make sure that is understood for you at Class 8, that your customers are not the product. Your product is the product, and you don't share that information without very clear, what did you call it? Consent across
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
board, and documentation for all of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially with privacy being a huge concern for a lot of drivers out there these days. I mean, we've seen the resistance to inward-facing cameras. We've seen resistance. Well, look at ELDs when they were first enacted. The privacy is important to a lot of drivers out there, and it sounds like you're being responsible in identifying privacy issues that would be important to a driver to make sure that they get good information that they need and be safe in the knowledge that their information is not going someplace they don't want it to go. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
There's no one under more surveillance than the carrier. And what you want in a truly efficient market is more security for the market, more, better economic gain for the market. Again, more security with less surveillance. That's what you ultimately want.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think that's
I
great.
know we're coming up on a hard stop, so I would like to go ahead and give you the opportunity to do any plugs, final comments, or anything that you'd like to do, Chris. Have at it. The floor is yours.
Well, the first thing I'd just say is, for carriers that are looking for these solutions, please come to class8.com. Oh, really?
I see him good. He,
Okay.
I think Claudia maybe the frozen one.
I'm going to just give it one more shot then.
Sure.
For carriers that are looking for these solutions, please come to class8.com. And if you're a brokerage that is looking for a better solution for capacity sourcing, a closer relationship with your existing network, also please come to class8.com. And the final point I want to make here is just on the whole post-Montgomery situation. What we're going to work towards is a solution that enables both the broker and the carrier to be able to work together confidently with signals that they can actually bank on. So how do you actually go to a carrier's record based on real tamper-proof data and receive a signal, receive a record that isn't muddy, isn't based on a bunch of thin inspection data or incomplete safety scores? That's ultimately what we're going to move towards, to ensure that the best driver that's behind a one truck fleet isn't ignored when trying to access the best opportunities. How do you actually make it true that the market is equal in the way that it ought to be for everyone? It's through this tamper-proof data.
That is freaking awesome. I absolutely adore it. Claudia, any closing thoughts?
I think it's a great product, Chris, and thank you, John, for letting me come on and co-host today, because I was so interested in this, and so I'm glad that you let me come on. Chris, I think it's a great product. I loved hearing more about the things that you started to offer for the carrier, and they're like, oh, I accidentally found out that this is a vibe, and like we can do this. So that's really neat. I will be connecting with you just to kind of touch base on. There are a few other questions I had, and I'm not really sure that I want those to be all out there. So. But nonetheless, thank you so very much for coming on. I think, like I said, I think it's a great product, obviously recognizing that, there are some in the fleet, some fleet out there that are not going to be able to utilize Class 8 because of their model and year. But nonetheless, what you have for who is out there in that majority of the market is really great. So thank you for coming on and telling us about it. We appreciate that.
Thanks so much, Claudia, John, JR. Such a pleasure.
All right, JR, go ahead. I know you're going to do it anyway.
No, I'm not. What I'm going to say is, Chris, I think from what I've heard about your product, I think it's something that, I'm not going to be able to utilize, number one, because of, like I said, the age of my equipment, but it's something that I'm actually going to check into a little deeper. I'm one, you can ask John, I'm one to research the hell out of everything. And I will probably be sending you questions because I like clarification. And then if I see that it is a good product, I will start plugging it all over the place.
Sure. Thank you.
But I have questions, and I'm gonna be looking for answers to them, and I will be in contact. And yes, John, here it comes. Go buy my book on Amazon, Frozen Freight, Iron Reef, on Amazon, coming out on audio on Audible soon. Okay, there. Oh. Now I'm going to shut up.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks so much.
All right, folks. For a programming note here, we are going to be shifting the day that we typically do this, and he dropped out already. Okay, that's fine.
Well, it's hard stop.
He has a hard stop, and that's perfectly fine. We are, from a programming note, we are going to be changing our days that we typically do this. We're going to be shifting to Tuesdays coming up here. So if you're one of our usual fans, please make sure that you watch out for our posting across social media. We may start next week. It may be the week after. I haven't made up my mind yet on that, but we are going to be shifting to Tuesdays on all the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, Freight Fraud Task Force, and Lounge Media Group social media outlets. So please keep that in mind. Otherwise, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. And we will certainly catch you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Please be sure to like and subscribe to all of our social media, and be sure to visit our merch store at vigilanttransport.com. Until next time, don't let scammers take you for a ride.